Good morning, grade 6. Today we're going to learn about forces, big and small. Now, here, forces can make things move. You have to push a shopping trolley to start to move around the shop. You have to pull on a handle to open a drawer. These pictures show you forces, different forces, okay? Question number 1, look at the picture, put the forces in order from smallest to biggest. This is quite easy. Smallest force is this one, ringing the bell. It doesn't take much force. The second one is carrying these books because they're a little bit heavy. The third one, and the biggest, is pushing the car. In science, if you want to know if one force is bigger than the other, we don't just guess, we make measurements. How do we measure force? We use an instrument called a force meter to measure a force. Another name for it is a newtometer. The picture shows one type of force meter. This is a force meter. Here, it has a spring and you hook the object to it and you suspend it in air. It shows us how much the force is. And the unit for force is Newton. How to measure it? We use Newton. That's why it's called Newton meter. This is how you use it to measure the force needed to pull a block of wood along the bench. Now we have to check first of all that it's at 0 before we start. Then we attach the hook to the force meter, to the block, and then we read the value from the scale. We hold the ring like this from here, and then you read the value of the force from the scale. How a force meter works. There is a spring inside a force meter. The pulling force stretches the spring and this moves the indicator along the scale. The bigger the force, the farther the indicator moves. I will attach a video that shows you how this works in action so you can know. Check the other video that I sent you so you can see how this works in action. Now, the unit of force. We measure it in newtons, not kilograms, newtons. This unit named after Isaac Newton, the scientist who explained how forces affect the way things move. To make it easy, we can write N, a capital N, instead of Newton. So let's look here at these figures. This one apple has a force down. It's the force of gravity of 1 Newton. There are 5 apples, so the force is what? It's larger, bigger, 5 newtons. How much is a newton? If you hold an apple on the palm of your hand, it presses down with a force of about 1 newton. If you hold 5, about 5 newtons. So this is how you roughly can tell how much a newton is, how much a newton weighs. Now here we have a question. This is going to be a homework. It says, look at the picture here. We have a picture of a force meter hooked to a chair and a reading. So the question is, what is the biggest force this force meter can measure? And how big is the force lifting the stool? Now, measuring pushing force. Let's see. Here, weighing scales can be used to measure a pushing force. If you stand on a weighing scale, you press down on the scale and the reading of the dial increases. You can use scales like this to measure pushing forces. You need a set of scales. Well, this is an experiment and so we can't do it right now. But it says that if you stand on the scale, the measure downward of the force of your weight. When we stand on it, like the boy here, this dial is moving as the weight of his body pushing on the scale. Now here we have something important. If we give you a reading in kilogram, you need to know that 1 kilogram means 10 newton, 20 kilograms means 20 newtons. How did we get to this? Now, here, the weight equals the mass multiplied by gravity. Now gravity equals 10 here on Earth. Always. It's 10 Newton. So let's say if I had anything I want to know the weight of and I have the mass, what do? I multiply. And the other way around. If I had the mass of something and I wanted to know, if I had the weight of something and I wanted to know the mass, I divide. Let's say something has a mass of 60. So what do? I multiply 60 multiplied by 10. It's 600 Newton. Okay? You have to write this down in your books. It's very important. Here, question number 3 is also a homework for you. And what we have learned from this lesson, that forces are measured in Newton and forces are measured using a force meter.